Welcome to WooEnglish. In this story, you'll learn English through clear and simple sentences. We encourage you to write comments and share your thoughts. If you enjoy the story, please press the like button to reward us. It really helps us out. Remember, the purpose of this story is educational. We want to help you improve your English while enjoying an exciting tale. We do not encourage or glorify the actions of the characters involved. Let's begin the journey together. Chapter 1. Early Life on the Farm. George Washington Carver was born around 1864 in Diamond, Missouri. His exact birth date is unknown because he was born into slavery. The early years of George's life were not easy. His mother, Mary, was a slave on the Carver farm, owned by Moses and Susan Carver. George's father died before he was born, leaving Mary to raise him and his older brother James. When George was just a baby, a band of raiders kidnapped him and his mother. They were taken away, but Moses Carver hired a man to find and bring them back. Sadly, only George was found and returned. His mother was never seen again. Moses and Susan Carver decided to raise George and his brother as their own children. They treated them kindly, but the scars of their early years stayed with them. George was a small, sickly child. He often had respiratory issues, which meant he couldn't do heavy farm work like his brother James. While James worked in the fields, George stayed close to the farmhouse. He helped Susan with household chores like cooking, cleaning, and laundry. Although his body was weak, his mind was sharp and filled with curiosity. One of George's favourite places was the garden. He was fascinated by the plants and flowers growing there. Susan Carver noticed his interest and allowed him to spend time in the garden. George began to experiment with the plants. He would take seeds from one plant and place them with another, observing the results. He called this his plant doctoring, and it brought him immense joy. The fields and woods around the farm were like a giant classroom for young George. He would wander through the fields, observing insects, birds, and plants. Each new discovery excited him. He carefully collected rocks, leaves, and bugs, bringing them back to the farmhouse to study. George's curiosity was endless, and he wanted to understand everything about the natural world around him. George was also very interested in learning to read and write. Susan Carver taught him the alphabet and how to spell simple words. George loved books and would borrow any that he could find. He read everything from the Bible to old newspapers. His thirst for knowledge was insatiable. One day, George discovered a tattered old book called Webster's Elementary Spelling Book. It became his treasured possession. He read it over and over, practicing his spelling and learning new words. This little book opened up a world of knowledge for him. George's intense desire to learn often led him to the nearby town of Neosho. It was a long walk, but George was determined. He had heard that there was a school for black children there. When he arrived, he found the Lincoln School, a small one-room schoolhouse. George met the teacher, a kind woman named Maria Watkins. Maria welcomed George and saw his eagerness to learn. She allowed him to stay with her and her husband, Andrew, in exchange for doing chores around their house. George was thrilled. For the first time, he had a chance to attend school regularly. At Lincoln School, George's love for learning grew even more. He was an excellent student, always curious and asking questions. Maria taught him to read and write more proficiently, and he excelled in his studies. George soaked up every bit of knowledge he could, from arithmetic to science. Maria Watkins became a significant influence in George's life. She encouraged his education and nurtured his curiosity. She often told him, "Learn all you can, then go back out into the world and give your learning back to the people." These words stayed with George throughout his life. George's passion for plants and nature continued to grow. He started a little garden at the Watkins house where he could conduct more experiments. He observed how different plants responded to various conditions, learning about soil, water, and sunlight. George's experiments were simple, but they laid the groundwork for his future scientific discoveries. After a few years, George decided it was time to move on. He wanted to continue his education and explore new opportunities. He left the Watkins home with a heart full of gratitude and a mind brimming with knowledge. George travelled to different towns, working odd jobs to support himself while attending school whenever he could. His journey took him to Kansas, where he attended a series of schools. Despite the many challenges and racial discrimination he faced, George persevered. His love for learning and his determination to succeed kept him going. He worked hard and excelled in his studies, always driven by his insatiable curiosity and passion for plants. George's journey was far from easy. He often faced prejudice and discrimination because of his race. Many schools refused to admit him, and he had to find work to support himself. But George never gave up. His dream was to get a formal education and use his knowledge to help others. One day, George heard about a school in Iowa that accepted black students. It was called Simpson College. He saved up enough money and applied. When he was accepted, it felt like a dream come true. At Simpson College, George studied art and piano. He was a talented artist, but his true passion was still plants and agriculture. After a year at Simpson College, George transferred to Iowa State Agricultural College, now Iowa State University, to study botany. He was the first black student at the college, and he faced many challenges. But George's hard work and determination paid off. He earned his bachelor's degree in agricultural science and later his master's degree. George's journey from a small farm in Missouri to becoming a renowned scientist was filled with obstacles, but his passion for learning and his love for plants never wavered. His early years on the Carver farm, filled with curiosity and discovery, set the stage for his future achievements. George Washington Carver's story is one of perseverance, determination, and a lifelong love of learning. Chapter 2. A Hunger for Knowledge. George Washington. Carver's hunger for knowledge was like a seed that needed just a bit of light and water to grow. Born into a world where opportunities were few for someone like him, George's determination to learn was a bright spark in his early life. After the Civil War ended, George and his brother James were no longer slaves. They lived with Moses and Susan Carver, who treated them kindly and encouraged George's curiosity. But George wanted more than what the Carver farm could offer. He wanted to read, write, and explore the vast world of knowledge. When George was about 11 years old, he heard about a school for black children in Neosho, a small town not too far from the Carver farm. Determined to go, he made the long journey on foot. The school was in a tiny one-room building with a teacher named Maria Watkins. Maria saw something special in George. She took him in and allowed him to stay with her and her husband. In return, George helped with chores around their house. This was a new chapter in his life. He finally had the chance to attend school regularly. George loved his new school. He woke up early every day, eager to learn. The classroom was simple, with wooden benches and a blackboard. But to George, it was a place of wonder. He learned to read and write better, and he studied subjects like math, science, and history. Maria Watkins was not just a teacher, she was also a mentor. She encouraged George's curiosity and told him, "Learn all you can, and then give back to your people." These words stayed with George for the rest of his life. They became a guiding principle in everything he did. After a few years in Neosho, George felt it was time to move on. He wanted to continue his education and see more of the world. He said goodbye to Maria and her husband and set off on his next adventure. He travelled to different towns, doing odd jobs to support himself while attending school when he could. George's journey took him to Fort Scott, Kansas. Here, he faced a harsh reality. He encountered racial discrimination that made life difficult. Many people treated him unfairly because of the colour of his skin. Finding a place to stay was hard, and he often had to move from one place to another. Despite these challenges, George did not give up. He found a small school where he could continue his education. He worked hard, often studying late into the night after finishing his chores. George's determination was unshakable. He knew that education was the key to a better future. George then moved to Olathe, Kansas, where he attended a small school. He worked as a farmhand to pay for his education. Life was tough, but George's passion for learning kept him going. He never complained about the hard work. Instead, he focused on his studies and learned as much as he could. One winter, George moved to Minneapolis, Kansas. He enrolled in Minneapolis High School. Here, he met another kind mentor, Miss Etta Budd, who saw his potential. She encouraged him to apply to college. With her help, George began to dream of higher education. George heard about Highland College in Kansas. Excited, he applied and was accepted. But when he arrived, the college refused to admit him because of his race. This was a crushing blow, but George's spirit remained unbroken. He knew he had to keep going, no matter how many obstacles he faced. Determined, George found work in Winterset, Iowa. He saved his money and continued to study on his own. Then he learned about Simpson College in Indianola, Iowa. Simpson College accepted black students, and George saw this as another chance to pursue his dreams. At Simpson College, George studied art and piano. He was a talented artist, but his true passion was still plants and agriculture. One of his teachers, Miss Etta Budd's father, noticed George's interest in plants and suggested he transfer to Iowa State Agricultural College, now Iowa State University. In 1891, George became the first black student at Iowa State. He studied botany and agriculture, subjects that fascinated him. The college environment was challenging, but George excelled. He earned his bachelor's degree in agricultural science and later his master's degree. During his time at Iowa State, George conducted many experiments with plants. He wanted to understand how to improve crop yields and help farmers. His professors recognized his talent and encouraged him to continue his research. George's journey from a small farm in Missouri to becoming a renowned scientist was filled with obstacles, but his passion for learning and his love for plants never wavered. His early years on the Carver farm, filled with curiosity and discovery, set the stage for his future achievements. George Washington. Carver's story is one of perseverance, determination, and a lifelong love of learning. George's story shows that no matter how difficult the journey, a hunger for knowledge and a strong determination can help you achieve great things. He faced many challenges, but each one only made him more determined. His journey to find education was not easy, but it shaped him into the brilliant scientist he would become. His life teaches us the importance of education, perseverance, and following our passions. As George Washington Carver continued his journey, he carried with him the lessons he had learned from each challenge and each person who had helped him along the way. His hunger for knowledge was never satisfied, and he continued to learn and discover new things throughout his life. His story is an inspiration to us all, reminding us that with determination and hard work, we can overcome any obstacle and achieve our dreams. Chapter 3. The First Steps to Freedom. The Civil War ended in 1865, bringing freedom to millions of enslaved people in the United States, including George Washington Carver. George was just a baby when the war ended, so he didn't remember the day freedom came. However, he would grow up feeling the profound changes it brought to his life. Living on the Carver farm, George was raised by Moses and Susan Carver. They were kind people who treated him and his brother James well, even though they were born into slavery. But now, as free individuals, George and James faced new opportunities and new challenges. As a young black boy in post-war America, George understood that his freedom came with great responsibilities. One of his deepest desires was to get an education. He knew that learning to read and write could open doors to a better future. But finding a place where he could learn was not easy. Schools for black children were rare, and many white people still didn't believe black children deserved an education. George's journey to find education began when he was about 11 years old. He heard about a school for black children in Neosho, Missouri. This school was more than 10 miles from the Carver farm, but George was determined to go. One morning, with a small bundle of belongings, he set out on foot, his heart filled with hope. When he arrived in Neosho, George found the Lincoln School, a small one-room building. The teacher, Maria Watkins, welcomed him warmly. George explained that he wanted to learn, and Maria saw his determination. She and her husband offered him a place to stay in exchange for doing chores. George eagerly accepted. Living with the Watkins family, George experienced a new world of learning. Maria was a kind and wise woman who became more than just his teacher. She was also a mentor and a guide. She taught George how to read and write better and encouraged his curiosity about the world. Her words, "Learn all you can, then give your learning back to your people," stayed with George throughout his life. George attended school every day, excited to learn. He studied hard and asked many questions. He loved reading books and would often borrow any he could find. At night, by the light of a small lamp, George would read and practice his writing. He was determined to make the most of this opportunity. After a few years in Neosho, George decided it was time to move on. He wanted to explore more and continue his education. He thanked Maria and her husband for their kindness and set off on a new journey. He travelled to different towns, finding work to support himself while attending school whenever he could. In Fort Scott, Kansas, George faced harsh realities. He encountered racial discrimination that made life difficult. Finding a place to stay was hard, and he often had to move from one place to another. Despite these challenges, George never gave up. He found a small school where he could continue his studies. He worked hard, often studying late into the night after finishing his chores. George's journey took him to Olathe, Kansas, where he attended another small school. He worked as a farmhand to pay for his education. Life was tough, but George's passion for learning kept him going. He focused on his studies and learned as much as he could. Each lesson, each book, was a step toward his dream. One winter, George moved to Minneapolis, Kansas. He enrolled in Minneapolis High School, where he met another kind mentor, Miss Etta Budd. She saw his potential and encouraged him to apply to college. With her help, George began to dream of higher education. George heard about Highland College in Kansas. Excited, he applied and was accepted. But when he arrived, the college refused to admit him because of his race. This was a crushing blow, but George's spirit remained unbroken. He knew he had to keep going, no matter how many obstacles he faced. Determined, George found work in Winterset, Iowa. He saved his money and continued to study on his own. Then he learned about Simpson College in Indianola, Iowa. Simpson College accepted black students, and George saw this as another chance to pursue his dreams. At Simpson College, George studied art and piano. He was a talented artist, but his true passion was still plants and agriculture. One of his teachers noticed George's interest in plants and suggested he transfer to Iowa State Agricultural College, now Iowa State University. In 1891, George became the first black student at Iowa State. He studied botany and agriculture, subjects that fascinated him. The college environment was challenging, but George excelled. He earned his bachelor's degree in agricultural science and later his master's degree. During his time at Iowa State, George conducted many experiments with plants. He wanted to understand how to improve crop yields and help farmers. His professors recognized his talent and encouraged him to continue his research. George's journey from a small farm in Missouri to becoming a renowned scientist was filled with obstacles, but his passion for learning and his love for plants never wavered. His early years on the Carver farm, filled with curiosity and discovery, set the stage for his future achievements. George Washington Carver's story is one of perseverance, determination, and a lifelong love of learning. As a young black man in post-war America, George faced many challenges, but each obstacle he overcame made him stronger. His desire for education and his determination to succeed led him to achieve great things. George's story teaches us the importance of perseverance and the power of education. It shows us that with hard work and determination, we can overcome any challenge and achieve our dreams. Chapter 4. The Wonders of Plants. George Washington. Carver's fascination with plants began when he was a child on the Carver farm. As he grew older, his passion deepened, and he discovered the wonders of plant biology. This chapter explores how George's love for plants led him to conduct experiments and find joy in nature. George was a small, curious boy who spent hours in the garden. He loved the way plants grew from tiny seeds into beautiful flowers and tall trees. As he worked with the plants, he began to notice their different shapes, colours and textures. George was especially interested in how plants could grow better and stronger. One day, George decided to create his own garden. He found a small patch of land near the farmhouse and started planting different seeds. He carefully watered them and watched them grow. George's garden soon became his laboratory, a place where he could experiment and learn. George began to try new things in his garden. He mixed different types of soil to see which plants grew best. He experimented with different amounts of water and sunlight. George also learned how to graft plants, combining parts of different plants to create new ones. These early experiments were simple, but they laid the foundation for his future work as a scientist. As George grew older, his curiosity about plants only increased. He read every book about plants and agriculture that he could find. One of his favorite books was Webster's Elementary Spelling Book, which he used to learn new words and understand more about the world around him. George's love for reading helped him gain knowledge about plant biology and agriculture. In the evenings, after finishing his chores, George would sit by the light of a small lamp and read. He learned about different plants and their uses. George was especially fascinated by how plants could help people. He read about medicinal plants that could heal sicknesses and crops that could feed families. This knowledge inspired him to help others through his love of plants. George's passion for plants led him to seek out more formal education. He attended several schools, each time moving closer to his goal of becoming a scientist. At Simpson College in Indianola, Iowa, George studied art and piano. However, his heart remained with plants. One of his teachers noticed his interest and suggested he transfer to Iowa State Agricultural College, now Iowa State University, to study botany. At Iowa State, George's love for plants found a new home. He was the first black student at the college, and although he faced many challenges, he thrived. The college had greenhouses and laboratories where George could conduct more advanced experiments. He studied plant diseases and how to prevent them. George also learned about crop rotation, a method of growing different crops in the same area in sequential seasons to improve soil health. One of George's favorite places at Iowa State was the greenhouse. It was a warm, humid place filled with exotic plants from all over the world. George spent hours there, observing the plants and conducting experiments. He learned how to cross-pollinate plants, transferring pollen from one flower to another to create new plant varieties. George's experiments helped him understand how plants could be improved and used in new ways. George's work in the greenhouse led to some fascinating discoveries. He found that certain plants could help enrich the soil, making it more fertile for other crops. This discovery was especially important for farmers who struggled with poor soil. George's work showed that planting crops like peanuts, sweet potatoes, and soybeans could help restore nutrients to the soil. George's discoveries were not just scientific, they were also practical. He developed new ways to use plants to make everyday products. For example, he created dyes from plants that could be used to color fabrics. George also made soaps, oils, and other products from plants. His experiments showed that plants were not just for food, but could also be used in many other ways to improve people's lives. One of George's most significant contributions was his work with peanuts. He found that peanuts were not only nutritious, but also versatile. George developed more than 300 products from peanuts, including peanut butter, peanut oil, and peanut flour. His work with peanuts helped farmers find new uses for their crops and improve their livelihoods. George's passion for plants was not just about science, it was also about education. He believed that knowledge should be shared, and he dedicated his life to teaching others about the wonders of plants. George often travelled to speak with farmers, teaching them how to improve their crops and soil. He also wrote articles and pamphlets to share his discoveries with a wider audience. George's love for plants and his dedication to helping others earned him respect and admiration. He became a professor at Tuskegee Institute in Alabama, where he continued his research and taught students about agriculture. George's work at Tuskegee helped transform agriculture in the South, improving the lives of countless farmers and their families. Throughout his life, George Washington Carver remained humble and dedicated to his work. He never sought fame or fortune. Instead, he focused on making a difference through his love of plants. George's curiosity and passion for plants led him to discover new ways to improve agriculture and help others. Chapter 5. College Days. George Washington. Carver's dream of attending college finally came true when he was accepted at Simpson College in Indianola, Iowa. This was a significant step for George, a young black man in a country where opportunities for people like him were scarce. George's journey to college was filled with determination and perseverance, and his college days would shape the rest of his life. When George arrived at Simpson College, he was filled with excitement and a bit of nervousness. He had worked so hard to get there, overcoming many obstacles along the way. At Simpson, George studied art and piano. He was a talented artist, and his drawings of plants were especially beautiful and detailed. But his heart remained with plants and agriculture. At Simpson, George made friends who shared his passion for learning. One of his closest friends was a fellow student named Etta Budd. Etta was kind and supportive, and she encouraged George to follow his interests. Etta's father, Professor Budd, was also a teacher at Simpson College. He taught art, and he noticed George's talent and passion for plants. One day, Professor Budd called George into his office. He had seen George's detailed drawings of plants and heard about his experiments. "George," he said, "have you ever thought about studying agriculture? There is a place called Iowa State Agricultural College. They have excellent programs in botany and agriculture. I think you would do well there." George's eyes lit up. He had always dreamed of studying plants more deeply, and this seemed like the perfect opportunity. Encouraged by Professor Budd, George applied to Iowa State Agricultural College, now Iowa State University, and was accepted. He became the first black student to attend the college, a significant achievement. When George arrived at Iowa State, he faced many challenges. The college was much larger than Simpson, and he was the only black student. Some people treated him differently because of his race, and he felt lonely at times. But George was determined to succeed. He focused on his studies and spent long hours in the library and laboratories. At Iowa State, George studied botany and agriculture. He was fascinated by how plants grew and how they could be used to help people. He learned about crop rotation, a method of planting different crops in the same area in sequential seasons to improve soil health. George also studied plant diseases and how to prevent them, knowledge that would later help many farmers. George's professors recognized his talent and dedication. One of his mentors was Dr. Lewis Pamel, a botanist who took George under his wing. Dr. Pamel was impressed by George's hard work and curiosity. He often invited George to his home for dinner and discussions about plants. These conversations helped George deepen his understanding of botany and agriculture. Another important mentor was Professor James Wilson, who later became the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture. Professor Wilson saw George's potential and encouraged him to conduct his own research. He provided George with opportunities to work in the college's greenhouses and laboratories, where George could experiment with different plants and techniques. George's college years were not just about studying. He also formed lasting friendships with fellow students. They often studied together, discussing their dreams and ambitions. George's friends admired his dedication and passion for plants. They supported him during difficult times and celebrated his successes. One of George's significant projects at Iowa State was his work with soil improvement. He discovered that certain plants, like peanuts, sweet potatoes, and soybeans, could enrich the soil by adding nutrients. This discovery was crucial for farmers who struggled with poor soil. George's research showed that planting these crops could help restore soil health and increase crop yields. George graduated from Iowa State with a bachelor's degree in agricultural science, but he didn't stop there. He continued his studies and earned a master's degree. His research during his master's program focused on plant diseases and how to prevent them. George's work was groundbreaking and earned him recognition from his professors and peers. After completing his master's degree, George stayed at Iowa State to work as an instructor. He taught classes in botany and agriculture, sharing his knowledge and passion with other students. George was an inspiring teacher, and his students admired his dedication and expertise. He often took them on field trips to study plants in their natural habitats, helping them understand the importance of agriculture and the wonders of nature. During his time at Iowa State, George continued to develop new ways to help farmers. He experimented with different crops and techniques, always looking for solutions to agricultural problems. His work was practical and focused on improving the lives of farmers. George believed that science should be used to help people, and this belief guided his research. George's college days were a time of growth and discovery. He faced many challenges, but his determination and passion for learning helped him overcome them. The friendships he formed and the mentors who guided him played a significant role in his success. George's experiences at Simpson College and Iowa State Agricultural College shaped him into the scientist and educator he would become. After leaving Iowa State, George went on to become a professor at Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. There, he continued his research and taught students about agriculture. George's work at Tuskegee helped transform agriculture in the South, improving the lives of countless farmers and their families. George Washington. Carver's college days were filled with hard work, discovery, and inspiration. His journey from a small farm in Missouri to becoming a renowned scientist was a testament to his determination and passion. George's story teaches us the importance of education, perseverance, and following our dreams. It shows us that with hard work and dedication, we can overcome any obstacle and achieve great things. Chapter 6. Tuskegee Institute. In 1896, George Washington Carver received an invitation that would change his life. Booker T. Washington, the founder of the Tuskegee Institute in Alabama, asked George to join the school as a teacher and researcher. Booker T. Washington had heard about George's work at Iowa State and believed he would be a valuable addition to Tuskegee. George accepted the offer. excited about the opportunity to make a difference. When George arrived at Tuskegee, he was welcomed with open arms. The Tuskegee Institute was a school dedicated to educating black students, teaching them practical skills and knowledge to help improve their lives. George was given a laboratory and a classroom, and he began his work with enthusiasm. George's first task at Tuskegee was to improve the school's agricultural program. He noticed that many local farmers struggled with poor soil and low crop yields. George wanted to help them. He started by teaching his students about crop rotation. Crop rotation is a farming method where different crops are planted in the same field in sequential seasons. This helps improve soil health and increases crop yields. One of George's favourite crops was the peanut. He discovered that peanuts were not only nutritious, but also beneficial for the soil. Peanuts are legumes, and they can fix nitrogen in the soil, making it more fertile. George encouraged farmers to plant peanuts along with other crops like sweet potatoes and soybeans. This practice helped restore the soil's nutrients and increased the farmers' productivity. George didn't just teach in the classroom. He believed in hands-on learning, so he took his students into the fields. Together they experimented with different crops and farming techniques. George showed them how to improve their soil and grow healthier plants. His students were eager to learn, and they respected George's knowledge and dedication. One day, George had an idea that would make his teachings more accessible to farmers who couldn't come to Tuskegee. He created the Jessup wagon, a mobile classroom on wheels. The Jessup wagon was filled with tools, seeds, and educational materials. George and his students travelled to different farms, teaching farmers about crop rotation, soil improvement, and other agricultural techniques. The farmers were grateful for George's help and started seeing improvements in their fields. George's work at Tuskegee didn't stop with teaching. He also conducted research in his laboratory. He wanted to find new ways to use the crops he was encouraging farmers to grow. George discovered that peanuts, sweet potatoes, and other crops could be used to make various products. He developed over 300 products from peanuts alone, including peanut butter, oils, and even dyes. From sweet potatoes, he created flours, vinegar, and rubber. George's discoveries were practical and innovative. They provided farmers with new ways to use their crops and increase their income. For example, instead of just selling peanuts as a food product, farmers could now sell peanut oil, which had many uses. George's work showed that agriculture could be a source of multiple products, benefiting both the farmers and the economy. George's impact at Tuskegee extended beyond agriculture. He was also passionate about education and community improvement. He believed that education should be accessible to everyone, and he worked to make Tuskegee a place where students could learn practical skills to improve their lives. George taught his students the importance of hard work, perseverance, and curiosity. He encouraged them to think creatively and find solutions to problems. George's dedication to his work and his students earned him great respect. He became known as the plant doctor because of his deep understanding of plants and his ability to solve agricultural problems. People from all over the country came to Tuskegee to learn from George and see his work firsthand. He was invited to speak at conferences and share his knowledge with a broader audience. Despite his growing fame, George remained humble and focused on his mission. He never sought personal wealth or recognition. Instead, he dedicated his life to helping others. George's work at Tuskegee was not just about improving agriculture, it was about empowering people and communities. He believed that with the right knowledge and skills, people could transform their lives and their surroundings. One of George's most significant contributions was his work with crop diversification. He showed farmers that relying on a single crop, like cotton, was risky. Cotton depleted the soil's nutrients and left farmers vulnerable to market fluctuations. By diversifying their crops, farmers could improve their soil health and have multiple sources of income. This idea was revolutionary and helped many farmers achieve greater stability and prosperity. George's research and teachings also had a lasting impact on the scientific community. He published numerous articles and shared his findings with other scientists. His work with peanuts, sweet potatoes, and crop rotation influenced agricultural practices worldwide. George's innovative techniques became part of the standard agricultural knowledge, benefiting farmers far beyond Tuskegee. As the years passed, George continued to teach and research at Tuskegee. He remained curious and passionate about his work until the end of his life. George's legacy lives on through the countless farmers he helped and the students he inspired. His contributions to agriculture and education are still remembered and celebrated today. George Washington Carver's time at Tuskegee Institute was a period of significant achievement and impact. His innovative agricultural techniques, dedication to education, and commitment to helping others transformed the lives of many people. George's story teaches us the importance of perseverance, creativity, and using our knowledge to make a positive difference in the world. His work at Tuskegee Institute remains an inspiring example of how one person's passion and dedication can create lasting change. George Washington. Carver's time at Tuskegee Institute was a period of significant achievement and impact. His innovative agricultural techniques, dedication to education, and commitment to helping others transformed the lives of many people. George's story teaches us the importance of perseverance, creativity, and using our knowledge to make a positive difference in the world. His work at Tuskegee Institute remains an inspiring example of how one person's passion and dedication can create lasting change. You're listening to WooEnglish. If you enjoy George Washington Carver's inspiring journey, please like and comment on the story. You're listening to WooEnglish. If you enjoy George Washington Carver's inspiring journey, please like and comment on the story. Chapter 7. The Peanut Discoveries. George Washington. Carver's work with peanuts began as a solution to a problem. Farmers in the South were struggling with poor soil. Years of planting cotton had depleted the soil's nutrients, leaving it barren and unproductive. George knew that to help these farmers, he needed to find a way to restore the soil. Peanuts were the answer. George discovered that peanuts, like other legumes, could fix nitrogen in the soil. This meant that planting peanuts could help replenish the soil's nutrients. He encouraged farmers to rotate their crops, planting peanuts one year and other crops the next. This simple technique improved the soil and increased crop yields. But George didn't stop there. He realized that to truly help farmers, he needed to find new uses for peanuts. If farmers could sell their peanuts in various forms, they could increase their income. So George began experimenting in his laboratory at Tuskegee Institute. George's laboratory was a small, crowded room filled with jars, beakers, and plants. He spent countless hours there, testing and experimenting. His goal was to discover as many uses for peanuts as possible. He worked with determination, driven by a desire to help farmers and improve agriculture. One of George's first discoveries was peanut oil. He found that oil could be extracted from peanuts and used for cooking, lighting lamps, and making soap. Peanut oil was versatile and valuable, providing farmers with a new product to sell. George shared his findings with farmers, teaching them how to extract and use peanut oil. George also discovered that peanuts could be used to make a variety of food products. He created peanut butter, a delicious and nutritious spread. Peanut butter quickly became popular and is now a staple in many households. George also developed recipes for peanut flour, peanut milk, and even peanut cheese. These products added variety to people's diets and provided new opportunities for farmers. But George's discoveries didn't end with food. He found that peanuts could be used to make numerous industrial products as well. He created dyes from peanut skins, which could be used to color fabrics. He also made plastics, adhesives, and even gasoline from peanuts. George's innovations showed that peanuts were not just a food crop. They were a source of many valuable materials. Word of George's peanut discoveries spread quickly. He began receiving invitations to speak at conferences and fairs. People were amazed by the many uses he had found for peanuts. George became known as the Peanut Wizard, and his work brought him national fame. One of the most significant moments in George's career came in 1921. He was invited to speak before the United States Congress. The peanut industry was seeking a tariff to protect American peanut farmers from foreign competition. George's task was to convince Congress of the importance and potential of peanuts. Standing before Congress, George spoke passionately about his discoveries. He explained how peanuts could improve soil health and how they could be used to make a wide range of products. George's knowledge and enthusiasm were evident, and the members of Congress were impressed. They granted the tariff, helping to protect American peanut farmers. George's testimony before Congress was a turning point. It brought him widespread recognition and respect. But despite his fame, George remained humble. He continued to work tirelessly in his laboratory, always seeking new ways to help farmers and improve agriculture. George's dedication to his work was evident in his countless experiments and innovations. He documented over 300 uses for peanuts, each one carefully tested and refined. His discoveries provided farmers with new opportunities and improved their livelihoods. George's work also demonstrated the importance of scientific research in solving real-world problems. Throughout his career, George was committed to education. He believed that knowledge should be shared and used to help others. He wrote numerous articles and pamphlets explaining his discoveries in simple terms. George often traveled to speak with farmers, teaching them about crop rotation, soil improvement, and the many uses of peanuts. His work was practical and accessible, making a real difference in people's lives. George's impact extended beyond the United States. His innovations were recognized internationally, and he received many awards and honors. But for George, the greatest reward was knowing that his work helped others. He remained dedicated to his mission, always looking for new ways to improve agriculture and support farmers. George Washington Carver's work with peanuts was groundbreaking. His discoveries transformed agriculture and provided farmers with new opportunities. George's dedication, curiosity, and innovative spirit made him a beloved figure in American agriculture. His story is a testament to the power of perseverance and the importance of using knowledge to help others. George's legacy lives on today. His innovations with peanuts continue to benefit farmers and consumers around the world. George's work reminds us that even simple, everyday things can hold great potential. With curiosity and determination, we can discover new ways to solve problems and make a positive impact on the world. As George Washington Carver's life shows, the wonders of science and nature are endless. His peanut discoveries were not just about finding new products, they were about improving lives and supporting communities. George's work at Tuskegee Institute and his commitment to helping others are an inspiration to us all. His story teaches us the value of hard work, creativity, and the power of knowledge to create lasting change. Chapter 8. Helping Farmers. George Washington. Carver was deeply committed to helping farmers. He saw how hard they worked and how much they struggled. Many farmers in the South faced poor soil and low crop yields. George knew he could make a difference by sharing his knowledge and teaching new farming techniques. At Tuskegee Institute, George began to focus on sustainable farming. He believed that farmers needed to take care of the soil to ensure good crops. One of his key teachings was crop rotation. Crop rotation means planting different crops in the same field in different years. This helps keep the soil healthy because different plants use different nutrients. George encouraged farmers to plant crops like peanuts, sweet potatoes, and soybeans. These plants are legumes and they can add nitrogen to the soil. Nitrogen is an essential nutrient for plants, and having more of it in the soil makes crops grow better. By rotating these crops with others, farmers could improve their soil and get better harvests. George also taught farmers about composting. Composting involves collecting plant and food waste and allowing it to decompose. This process creates rich organic material that can be added to the soil to improve its quality. George showed farmers how to make compost and use it in their fields. This simple technique helped farmers grow healthier plants without needing expensive fertilizers. To reach more farmers, George created the Jessup wagon. The Jessup wagon was a movable school on wheels, filled with tools, seeds, and educational materials. George and his students traveled from farm to farm, teaching farmers about sustainable practices. They demonstrated how to plant different crops, how to compost, and how to improve their soil. Farmers were eager to learn, and the Jessup wagon became very popular. George's dedication to helping farmers went beyond just teaching. He also conducted experiments to find better ways to grow crops. He tested different methods of planting, watering, and caring for plants. His goal was to find techniques that were simple and effective, so farmers could easily adopt them. One of George's significant contributions was his work with crop diversification. He noticed that many farmers relied heavily on a single crop, like cotton. Cotton was hard on the soil and made farmers vulnerable to market changes. If the price of cotton dropped, farmers would lose a lot of money. George taught farmers to plant a variety of crops. This not only helped the soil, but also provided farmers with multiple sources of income. If one crop failed or the price dropped, they still had other crops to rely on. George's work with peanuts became especially important. He discovered over 300 uses for peanuts, including food products, oils, and industrial materials. By growing peanuts, Farmers could sell these products and increase their income. George's innovations helped turn peanuts into a valuable crop for many farmers in the South. In addition to peanuts, George explored the uses of sweet potatoes. He found that sweet potatoes could be made into flours, vinegar, and even rubber. These discoveries gave farmers new ways to use their crops and find markets for them. George shared his findings with farmers, helping them make the most of their harvests. George believed that education was the key to improving agriculture. He wrote numerous pamphlets and articles, explaining his techniques in simple language. He wanted farmers to understand and use the methods he developed. George's writings were practical and easy to follow, making them accessible to all farmers. One day, George was invited to a farmers' conference. He stood in front of a large audience of farmers and spoke about sustainable farming. He explained how crop rotation and composting could improve their soil. He shared his discoveries about peanuts and sweet potatoes. The farmers listened carefully, taking notes and asking questions. George's passion and knowledge inspired them to try new methods on their own farms. George's work had a significant impact on agriculture in the South. Farmers who followed his advice saw improvements in their soil and crop yields. They were able to grow healthier plants and increase their income. George's teachings helped lift many farmers out of poverty and gave them hope for a better future. Despite his success, George remained humble and focused on his mission. He continued to work at Tuskegee Institute, always looking for new ways to help farmers. He believed that his work was never done and that there was always more to learn and share. George's dedication to helping farmers was not just about agriculture. He wanted to improve their lives and their communities. He believed that by empowering farmers with knowledge, he could help create a better world. George's commitment to education and innovation was a testament to his belief in the power of knowledge to bring positive change. George Washington Carver's work with farmers shows us the importance of sustainable practices and crop diversification. His teachings on crop rotation, composting, and the use of legumes helped improve soil health and increase crop yields. George's innovative uses for peanuts and sweet potatoes provided farmers with new opportunities and markets. His dedication to education and helping others made a lasting impact on agriculture in the South. George's story teaches us that with knowledge and determination, we can overcome challenges and improve our lives. His commitment to helping farmers and his innovative spirit are an inspiration to us all. George Washington. Carver's legacy continues to influence agriculture and remind us of the importance of sustainability and education. Chapter 9. Recognized and respected. George Washington. Carver's hard work and dedication began to gain widespread recognition. His innovative agricultural techniques and groundbreaking research with peanuts and other crops brought him respect from both the scientific community and the general public. However, his journey to recognition was not easy, especially given the racial prejudices of his time. George's work at Tuskegee Institute had a significant impact on agriculture in the South. Farmers who followed his advice saw their soil improve and their crops flourish. His methods of crop rotation and soil enrichment became widely known and respected. As word of his success spread, George started receiving invitations to speak at conferences and events. One of the first major recognitions came in 1916, when George was elected a member of the British Royal Society of Arts. This was a great honour. as the society was one of the most prestigious institutions in the world. Being elected as a member was a testament to the international impact of George's work. It showed that his contributions to agriculture were recognized and valued beyond the United States. In 1921, George was invited to speak before the United States Congress. The peanut industry was seeking a tariff to protect American peanut farmers from foreign competition. George's task was to convince Congress of the importance and potential of peanuts. Standing before the members of Congress, George spoke passionately about his discoveries. He explained how peanuts could improve soil health and how they could be used to make a wide range of products. His knowledge and enthusiasm were evident, and the members of Congress were impressed. They granted the tariff, helping to protect American peanut farmers. This appearance before Congress brought George national fame. Newspapers across the country reported on his testimony and praised his work. Despite the racial prejudices of the time, George was celebrated for his achievements. People admired his dedication and his contributions to agriculture. George's fame continued to grow, and he received numerous awards and honors. In 1923, he was awarded the Spingarn Medal by the NAACP. This medal was given to African Americans who achieved great success in their fields. Receiving the Spingarn Medal was a significant recognition of George's impact and his role as a leader in the African American community. George also received honorary degrees from several universities. These degrees were a recognition of his contributions to science and education. They showed that his work was respected by academic institutions and that he was seen as a pioneer in his field. George was deeply honored by these recognitions, but he remained humble. He always believed that his work was not about personal fame, but about helping others. Throughout his career, George faced racial discrimination. Despite his many achievements, he was often treated unfairly because of his race. There were times when he was denied access to facilities or excluded from certain events. However, George never let these challenges stop him. He continued to work hard and focused on his mission of improving agriculture and helping farmers. George's resilience in the face of discrimination made him an even more respected figure. People admired his ability to rise above prejudice and remain dedicated to his work. His achievements were a powerful statement against the racial injustices of his time. One of the most touching moments of recognition came from the farmers he helped. They saw the direct impact of his work on their lives. Many farmers wrote letters to George, thanking him for his guidance and support. They shared stories of how his methods had improved their soil and increased their crop yields. These letters were a source of great pride for George. They showed that his work was making a real difference in the lives of people. George's influence extended beyond agriculture. He became a role model and an inspiration to many. His life story was a testament to the power of perseverance, education, and dedication. He showed that with hard work and determination, it was possible to overcome obstacles and achieve great things. In his later years, George continued to receive recognition for his work. He was invited to the White House by President Theodore Roosevelt, who admired his contributions to agriculture. He also met with other prominent leaders and shared his knowledge and ideas. Despite all the honors and recognition, George remained focused on his work. He continued to conduct research and teach at Tuskegee Institute. He believed that there was always more to learn and discover. His passion for science and his commitment to helping others never waned. George Washington Carver's story is one of resilience, innovation, and dedication. His work transformed agriculture and improved the lives of countless farmers. Despite facing racial prejudice, he earned respect and recognition for his contributions to science and society. George's legacy continues to inspire us today, reminding us of the power of knowledge, hard work, and perseverance. George's journey from a small farm in Missouri to becoming a renowned scientist and respected figure is a testament to his determination and passion. His story teaches us that true recognition and respect come from making a positive impact on the world and helping others. George Washington Carver's life is a shining example of how one person's dedication and innovation can create lasting change. Chapter 10. Later Life and Continued Work. George Washington. Carver never stopped working. Even as he grew older, his passion for plants and education continued to drive him. His later years were filled with ongoing projects and new discoveries, showing his lifelong dedication to his work. George remained at Tuskegee Institute, where he had spent most of his career. He loved teaching and helping his students understand the wonders of nature. His classes were always popular, filled with students eager to learn from the famous plant doctor. George's way of teaching was unique. He didn't just lecture. He encouraged his students to ask questions, explore, and conduct their own experiments. One of George's favorite places was the greenhouse at Tuskegee. It was a warm, humid place filled with plants from all over the world. George spent countless hours there, tending to the plants and conducting experiments. Even in his later years, he was always looking for new ways to improve agriculture and help farmers. George continued his research on peanuts, sweet potatoes, and other crops. He developed new products and techniques, always thinking about how they could be used to benefit others. One of his ongoing projects was finding more uses for sweet potatoes. He discovered that sweet potatoes could be made into flours, sugars, and even rubber. These discoveries provided farmers with new opportunities to use their crops and increase their income. George also focused on conservation. He understood the importance of protecting natural resources and preserving the environment. He taught his students about sustainable farming practices and the need to take care of the soil. George's work in conservation was ahead of its time, highlighting the importance of caring for the earth long before it became a widespread concern. In addition to his research and teaching, George was dedicated to sharing his knowledge with a broader audience. He wrote numerous articles and pamphlets explaining his discoveries in simple terms that everyone could understand. George believed that knowledge should be accessible to all, and he worked hard to make his research available to farmers, students, and anyone interested in agriculture. One day, a group of young students visited Tuskegee Institute to meet George. They had heard about his work and were excited to learn from him. George welcomed them warmly and took them on a tour of the greenhouse. He showed them the different plants and explained how they grew. The students were amazed by George's knowledge and his passion for teaching. They left Tuskegee inspired and eager to learn more about science and agriculture. George's later years were also marked by recognition and honours. He received numerous awards for his contributions to science and agriculture. Despite these accolades, George remained humble. He always emphasized that his work was about helping others, not about personal glory. He believed that his greatest reward was seeing the positive impact of his work on people's lives. One of the most significant recognitions George received was the dedication of the George Washington Carver Museum at Tuskegee Institute. The museum showcased his life and work, celebrating his achievements and contributions. George was deeply honored by the museum, seeing it as a way to inspire future generations to pursue knowledge and innovation. Even as he aged, George's health remained relatively good. He credited his active lifestyle and his love for his work. George often said that his work kept him young at heart. He continued to rise early every morning, eager to start his day in the greenhouse or the classroom. In his later years, George also became more involved in mentoring young scientists. He understood the importance of guiding and supporting the next generation of researchers. George often invited young scientists to Tuskegee to work with him and learn from his experience. He provided them with advice, encouragement, and inspiration, helping them pursue their own scientific dreams. One winter, George caught a cold that turned into pneumonia. Despite his illness, he insisted on continuing his work. He believed that he still had much to contribute and didn't want to waste any time. His determination was strong, but his body was growing weaker. George passed away on January 5, 1943, leaving behind a legacy of innovation, education, and dedication. George Washington. Carver's life was a testament to the power of passion and perseverance. His later years were filled with ongoing projects, new discoveries, and a continued commitment to helping others. George's work at Tuskegee Institute and his dedication to teaching and research made a lasting impact on agriculture and education. George's story teaches us that dedication and hard work can lead to great achievements. His lifelong commitment to his work and his passion for helping others are an inspiration to us all. George Washington Carver's legacy lives on, reminding us of the importance of knowledge, innovation, and caring for the world around us. George's life shows that true success is not measured by fame or wealth, but by the positive impact we have on others. His dedication to improving agriculture and educating future generations continues to inspire scientists, farmers, and students around the world. George Washington. Carver's story is a powerful reminder that with passion and perseverance, we can make a lasting difference in the world. Chapter 11. Legacy and Influence. George Washington. Carver's impact on the world did not end with his passing in 1943. His legacy continues to influence modern agriculture and science in many ways. This chapter explores the lasting effects of his work, the institutions named after him, and how his discoveries continue to benefit society. George Washington. Carver's innovations in agriculture transformed the farming practices of his time. His methods of crop rotation and soil improvement are still used by farmers today. By planting crops like peanuts, sweet potatoes, and soybeans, farmers can maintain healthy soil and improve their yields. George's teachings on sustainable farming practices have become fundamental principles in modern agriculture. One of the most significant aspects of George's legacy is the widespread adoption of crop rotation. Before his work, many farmers planted the same crop year after year, depleting the soil of essential nutrients. George showed them how rotating crops could restore the soil and increase productivity. Today, crop rotation is a standard practice worldwide thanks to George's pioneering research. George's work with peanuts also left a lasting mark. He discovered over 300 uses for peanuts, including food products, oils, and industrial materials. These discoveries not only provided new opportunities for farmers, but also demonstrated the versatility of agricultural products. Peanut butter, one of George's most famous inventions, remains a popular food item around the world. Institutions named after George Washington Carver honor his contributions and keep his memory alive. The George Washington Carver National Monument in Diamond, Missouri, is one such place. It was the first national monument dedicated to an African American and a non-president. The monument preserves the site of George's childhood home and celebrates his achievements. Visitors can learn about his life, explore the natural environment that inspired him, and see exhibits about his work. The George Washington Carver Museum at Tuskegee Institute is another institution that honors his legacy. The museum showcases his life and contributions to science and agriculture. It features exhibits of his inventions, photographs, and personal items. The museum serves as an educational resource, inspiring visitors to pursue knowledge and innovation, just as George did. George Washington Carver's influence extends to the scientific community as well. His research methods and discoveries continue to inspire scientists and researchers. George's approach to experimentation, carefully observing, hypothesizing, and testing, remains a model for scientific inquiry. His work in plant biology and chemistry paved the way for future advancements in these fields. Modern scientists and researchers often cite George's work when discussing sustainable agriculture and environmental conservation. His emphasis on using natural methods to improve soil health and crop yields is more relevant than ever. As the world faces challenges like climate change and food security, George's teachings provide valuable insights into sustainable farming practices. George's dedication to education also left a lasting impact. He believed that knowledge should be shared and accessible to all. His work at Tuskegee Institute set a standard for agricultural education. Today, many agricultural programs and schools follow George's example, focusing on practical, hands-on learning. His commitment to teaching and mentoring young scientists continues to inspire educators and students alike. George Washington. Carver's influence is also seen in the many awards and honors established in his name. The George Washington Carver Award, given by various organizations, recognizes individuals who have made significant contributions to science, agriculture, and education. These awards keep George's legacy alive by celebrating those who follow in his footsteps. George's story has been told in books, films, and documentaries, reaching a wide audience and inspiring countless people. His life is a testament to the power of perseverance, curiosity, and a dedication to helping others. Through these stories, new generations learn about George's contributions and are motivated to pursue their own dreams. One of the most profound aspects of George's legacy is his role as a symbol of resilience and hope. He overcame significant obstacles, including racial discrimination and limited opportunities, to achieve great things. His success serves as a powerful reminder that with determination and hard work, it is possible to overcome adversity and make a positive impact on the world. George Washington. Carver's influence extends to the broader cultural and social landscape as well. He is celebrated during Black History Month and other cultural observances, highlighting his contributions to science and agriculture. His life story is an integral part of American history, representing the achievements of African Americans and their contributions to society. In communities around the world, George's teachings continue to inspire local farming practices. Many farmers and agricultural workers use his methods to improve their soil and increase their crop yields. George's focus on sustainability and environmental stewardship resonates with those working to create a better future for their communities. George's legacy is also seen in the countless individuals he inspired directly. Many of his students at Tuskegee Institute went on to become influential scientists, educators, and leaders. They carried forward his teachings, spreading his innovative methods and dedication to education. These individuals continue to honor George's legacy by making their own contributions to science and society. George Washington Carver's life and work have left an indelible mark on the world. His innovations in agriculture, his dedication to education, and his perseverance in the face of adversity serve as enduring examples of what one person can achieve. George's legacy continues to influence modern agriculture, science, and education, inspiring future generations to pursue knowledge, innovation, and sustainability. As we reflect on George Washington Carver's life, we are reminded of the power of curiosity, hard work, and a commitment to helping others. His contributions have made a lasting impact on the world, and his legacy will continue to inspire and guide us for generations to come. Chapter 12. An Inspirational Life. George Washington. Carver's life is a story of perseverance, curiosity, and compassion. From his humble beginnings to his groundbreaking work in agriculture, George's journey teaches us valuable lessons that continue to inspire future generations. George was born into slavery in Diamond, Missouri, around 1864. His early life was marked by hardship. When he was just an infant, raiders kidnapped him and his mother. Although George was eventually found and returned to the Carver farm, his mother was never seen again. Moses and Susan Carver, the farm owners, raised George and his brother James as their own children. They encouraged George's curiosity and provided him with a nurturing environment. George was a frail child, often too sick to do heavy farm work. Instead, he spent his time exploring the woods and fields around the farm. He developed a deep love for nature and an intense curiosity about the world around him. George's fascination with plants began at a young age. He created his own garden and experimented with different plants, observing how they grew and responded to various conditions. Despite the challenges he faced, George was determined to get an education. After the Civil War, he traveled to Neosho, Missouri, to attend a school for black children. He lived with Mariah Watkins, who encouraged his studies and told him, "Learn all you can, and then go back out into the world and give your learning back to the people." These words stayed with George throughout his life. George's quest for knowledge led him to several schools. He faced racial discrimination and financial difficulties, but he never gave up. Eventually, he was accepted to Simpson College in Indianola, Iowa, where he studied art. However, his passion for plants led him to transfer to Iowa State Agricultural College, now Iowa State University, to study botany and agriculture. There, he became the first black student and earned his bachelor's and master's degrees. George's work at Iowa State impressed Booker T. Washington, who invited him to join the Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. At Tuskegee, George dedicated himself to teaching and research. He developed innovative agricultural techniques, such as crop rotation and soil enrichment, which helped poor farmers improve their soil and increase their yields. His work with peanuts and sweet potatoes resulted in numerous new products, providing farmers with additional sources of income. George's life was not just about scientific achievements. His compassion for others drove him to help those in need. He believed in using his knowledge to make a positive impact on the world. George often said, "It is not the style of clothes one wears, neither the kind of automobile one drives, nor the amount of money one has in the bank that counts. These mean nothing. It is simply service that measures success." Throughout his life, George remained humble and dedicated to his work. He received numerous awards and honours, including the Spingarn Medal from the NAACP and honorary degrees from several universities. Despite the recognition, George never sought personal fame or wealth. He lived simply, focused on his mission to help others. George's legacy extends far beyond his lifetime. His innovative agricultural methods are still used by farmers today. Institutions like the George Washington Carver National Monument and the George Washington Carver Museum at Tuskegee Institute honor his contributions and keep his memory alive. His work continues to inspire scientists, educators, and students around the world. One of the most important lessons from George's life is the power of perseverance. Despite facing numerous obstacles, George never gave up on his dreams. His determination to overcome adversity and pursue his passion for knowledge serves as a powerful example for all of us. George's story shows that with hard work and dedication, we can achieve great things no matter the challenges we face. George's curiosity was another driving force in his life. He was always eager to learn and explore new ideas. His love for plants and his desire to understand the natural world led to many of his discoveries. George's curiosity reminds us of the importance of being open to new experiences and continually seeking knowledge. Compassion was at the heart of George's work. He cared deeply about helping others and improving their lives. His efforts to teach farmers sustainable practices and develop new uses for crops were driven by his desire to make a positive impact on the world. George's compassion teaches us the importance of using our talents and knowledge to help those in need. As we reflect on George Washington Carver's life, we see a man who dedicated himself to the service of others. His perseverance, curiosity, and compassion made a lasting impact on agriculture, science, and education. George's story is an inspiration to us all, reminding us that we have the power to make a difference in the world. In today's world, the lessons from George's life are more relevant than ever. His focus on sustainability and environmental stewardship is especially important as we face global challenges like climate change and food security. George's innovative spirit and commitment to helping others provide a model for how we can address these issues. George Washington. Carver's life is a testament to the power of education, perseverance, and compassion. His legacy continues to inspire and guide us, reminding us that with dedication and a desire to help others, we can achieve great things. As we carry forward his teachings, we honor his memory and continue his mission to make the world a better place. In conclusion, George Washington Carver's inspirational life serves as a powerful example of what can be achieved through hard work, curiosity, and a commitment to helping others. His contributions to agriculture, science, and education have left a lasting legacy that continues to benefit society today. George's story is a reminder that no matter where we come from or the obstacles we face, we can make a positive impact on the world through perseverance, innovation, and compassion.